Hello, this is Soundout here, and welcome back to another Soundout review. Today I'll be taking a look at the Marvel Legends Super Skrull Build-A-Figure Wave from Hasbro. And this is honestly one of only two Build-A-Figure waves I actually do want to finish this year, the other being Strong Guy. With Marvel Legends, as many may know from this channel, I do buy a ton of Marvel Legends, but this year it's not grabbing me as much. However, this wave I thought looked pretty solid overall, and I really wanted Super Skrull, so I decided to pick up the whole set. Now, I am a little, I guess, behind the power curve, but I thought, right now, with current events and everything happening in the world, let's have some fun and talk about my favorite superhero team from Marvel, because I really love the Fantastic Four. The first figure I picked up from this wave, of course, was Dr. Doom. I had him pre-ordered. Doom is my favorite Marvel character. We're going to talk about him last. We're going to talk about SheHulk before that, but not until after we talk about the Fantastic Four, because I think there's a lot to discuss there, and I think we can have some fun. So, let's begin. Let's start right away with Mr. Fantastic. So, Reed Richards, the leader of the Fantastic Four and genius scientist, actually finally has a retail release Marvel Legend for the first time in forever. Actually, that's the big thing with the Fantastic Four. They were recently released as Walgreens exclusives, but this is the first time they've been out at retail in a long time. This is, of course, based on the current comic book look for the team, with the black and blue costumes, starting with Dan Slott's run on the Fantastic Four comic, which was the big revival after they'd been sort of in limbo for a few years due to movie rights. The head sculpt, of course, has his beard, which is his new look in the comics. He is sporting a beard. Though the overall face and look of the figure reminds me of Dan Larson from Toy Galaxy, which even Dan Larson from Toy Galaxy agrees with that statement. And that's really kind of like, it's kind of an uncanny appearance in a way, because it's like, I know it's supposed to be Reed, but it really does look like Dan Larson. So, on that, that's pretty amusing. That being said, the paintwork's really solid. The Fantastic Four symbol's really well done. Mine has a little bit of a spot on it that didn't quite get fully painted. And overall, it does replicate the comic look, straight down to the big old feet. For whatever reason, this costume design, they have cleats, I guess, because they do stuff in space sometimes. But they do seem to have big feet. Though this is kind of an issue, I think, with the other Mr. Fantastic as well. Now, that being said, the body mold is the same as the previous Walgreens Mr. Fantastic. It's just been painted up to be the new costume design. And accessories-wise, he comes with alternate hands, which are these creepy rake fingers. Like, yeah. Now, at first I was like, oh no, that's fine. And friend of mine, Wheelchair 21, was like, no, they're not fine, they're creepy. And I was like, yeah, but he does this in the comics from time to time. And then he was like, no, they're still creepy. And I'm like, maybe they're fine. And then I get it in hand, I'm like, nope, they're creepy. They're creepy fingers. They're just, it's like unsettling because you can interlace the fingers. And then it's like, look, he's got creepy long rake fingers, and I don't like that at all. So I'm just gonna remove these hands and never use them again. And I think that's kind of my biggest gripe with the figure, is that that's all he comes with. I mean, sure, he comes with a part for Super Skrull, but when you're talking about accessories, he's Mr. Fantastic. He should have something besides just rake fingers. In fact, he should have what the previous one came with, which was stretchy arms. The Walgreens Mr. Fantastic had these really cool stretchy arms. Because this is the same mold, the arm actually connects. So they actually do work. If you were committed to the modern look and you had the Walgreens one, totally an option to just swap the arms and then paint it over. These are kind of a rubbery plastic, so I don't know how well that would work, but it would have been nice if he would have included at least one arm. Maybe not two, because, build a figure part, but what can you do? Speaking of the previous Reed Richards, here he is. Oops. So this Mr. Fantastic, of course, was the more classic look, clean-shaven, blue costume with black, as opposed to black costume with blue. And overall, I think that it has two very distinctive looks from each other. Now, those wondering if you can swap heads, definitely it's the same body mold, so they should just be able to. So yeah, those of you out there, maybe you can track down normal Reed Richards head if you don't want the bearded look. So you have that option. I've talked a lot about this figure, but you know what? I think it's worth it, because honestly, I think with Marvel Legends, we get too much into the, hey, it uses these parts and does this thing, and we don't really talk about the figure itself. In terms of posability, he's got all the standard joints. I don't really feel like going through that 6 times in this video. So I'm gonna kind of just pose him in a thinking pose, because that's really what he can do, because without any stretchy abilities, it just doesn't seem right. So overall, I mean, he's like the most controversial figure of the wave, but he's alright when you get him in the right pose. But the thing is, he's not really worth it on his own. He needs somebody to go with him. So here we have the Invisible Woman, Sue Richards. Now this is a great looking figure. As you can see, all of her detail is actually really impressive, and overall the head sculpt looks really good. In addition to that, they've replicated her power set perfectly. You can especially see here where the figure is totally not here at all. Gotcha! Anyways, here's the figure. So playing around aside, Invisible Woman looks great. This is, I think, my favorite of the modern Fantastic Four looks, just as figures, because her head sculpt is really, really nice. I like the longer hair, the nice application of the face. You know, they didn't do like a glorified, like, dolled up version. They gave her kind of a natural face, but she's still got a natural beauty to her, which I think is fantastic. And the longer head does look nice because it's not just flat, it's kind of waving in the back, which gives her a more action look. Other than that, it uses the same mold as the previous Sue Richards, except the new shoes, except, you know, I did like this. They have the cleats look, but they're smooth on part of the foot. But she does have a bit of a heel on there, kind of like an MCU sort of heel. And I wonder if the MCU actually, when they get to using the Fantastic Four, will use something similar to this, because I think this is very cinematic. Maybe switch it for blue as opposed to black as the primary color, but she looks great. I actually really like the look of her, and the thing is that she doesn't have any transparent arms like the previous one, so that solves one of those issues. And then to even top that off, she comes with a really good accessory, which is this force shield. So, you know, for those that don't remember, Sue Richards can do more than just turn invisible. She can also create force shields and force fields, which can be used so many different ways. Recently, you know, she was in this costume in her own miniseries by Mark Waid. Go check that out. That's my comic recommendation for this video, because that was a great miniseries. She got to do all kinds of cool stuff with her powers. And yeah, honestly, this is great. This is, you know, a great Sue Richards Invisible Woman figure. It's very, very seldom we get one that's this good, and I'm really happy to see that they actually really nailed it. Especially since she was the first member we got from the Walgreens team. So let's get this kind of neutral pose back up. She was the first one we got from Walgreens, which I did think was pretty solid. She came with Herbie back then, but the always transparent arm I thought was kind of an issue. But that being said, if you kind of look at the way they look like the same character. It's something that a lot of figures sometimes look like completely different people when they do a different costume variant. But the thing I want to point out is the fact that the clear arm has kind of bugged me for a long time, because it was the only representation of her powers. But because it uses the same hand mold, if you take the force shield from the new Sue, didn't mean for that to rhyme, it kind of works, because then the arm is phasing into the force shield, so you get kind of a nice gradient effect. So that's pretty dang cool. So I'm actually going to leave her with this effect part, and then kind of using this other hand is like, oh, she's kind of generating the force shield. So that's great. And the other thing too is that, again, because of the same mold, you could swap the heads if you could get the head off. Please don't be as tight. There we go. So the thing is, like, if you want a longer hair, I'm gonna pop this on all the way because it's not going. If you want a longer hair classic Sue, you got that option. Or if you want a shorter hair modern Sue. Actually, kind of like that swap a lot. But yeah, we're gonna put it back just for this video, but I might actually swap that over permanently later. But all that aside, I think Invisible Woman is fantastic. She's got a great look, great articulation, great sculpt, and yeah, honestly, unlike Reed, where I definitely say the classic Reed is better, this one's just as good as the classic, and right now I can't get her to stand, but there we go. So that is Sue Richards. Next up is the Hothead, Johnny Storm. This is a character that constantly never ages, but this head does give him kind of a more mature look, which I think was kind of the theme. It is more the theme of the Dan Slott's Fantastic Four run, is that this is a team that's been around for a while. They're a well-established family. So they did kind of give Johnny an older look. He's not, like, teenager anymore. He's, you know, mid-20s, which is probably good because, you know, Johnny could use a little aging up. He is on the Sunfire body, which is oddly appropriate, though he does have really large feet. I think the feet are too big. They got kind of that cleats look to him. But I do like this body mold. I think it works for Johnny a lot. It really does play well to the character, and overall, pretty nice. Same paint job as the others, essentially, with the modern costume. They all match. Now, of course, he doesn't have the ability to go flame on, so they kind of compromised a bit, which this is good because we've had other Johnny Storms try this before, but I think this is the best option. So we got the fists from the Walgreens one in a different orange, and then Scarlet Witch's magic effects from the MCU figure as kind of fire around it. So you kind of get Johnny going like, well, I'm just going to fire punch somebody, which, you know, gives him a representation of his powers without having to, like, make it a two-pack. I think it's always the problem with Johnny Storm figures, is like, oh, hey, this thing's like, you know, he has to have a whole separate figure for his powers to be turned on. But you got that going on, which actually looks pretty good. I do really like that. The only unfortunate part of all this is that, yeah, there isn't really a flame on option, because the flame on Johnny, which we got at Walgreens, which I do really like that figure a lot, is on the Bucky Cap mold. And this one, like I said, is on the Sunfire body, which I think the Sunfire body fits even better than Bucky Cap. I don't even know if Sunfire was out when this guy came out, but you can kind of see they don't match super well. But if you notice, the chest symbol on this Johnny is different than the chest symbols on the rest of them, so it kind of has a hard time blending. I would like to see a Sunfire body Human Torch to go with the Johnny Storm, but at least they did give some variety, because I know some people did really want a depowered Johnny Storm and not just the full flame on version. So maybe we'll see the opposite for each, but it is pretty nice we have some differences. Now, of course, there are some other options. For example, when Reed Richards was sitting around at my Walgreens not selling, picked up another one, took a old Chris Evans Captain America head, and made myself a depowered Johnny Storm for my classic Fantastic Four. But if we wanted to kind of do a little bit of part swapping, here we're going to take just the body and let's test something. 'Cause I actually haven't tried this yet, but I'm going to take the head off the new one, put it on the old. Hey, that actually works pretty good. The head looks like, the heads always seem a little weird on the Sunfire body. I do like the body mold, but I always feel like everyone has big heads, but that kind of works. I think it changes the proportion better than to making this look like he's a little bit broader than Reed. And I actually kind of like the way that looks, so that may be an option I go with, because that actually looks really, really nice overall. So I think, again, in the end of the day, if you don't have a Johnny Storm, it's a good Johnny Storm. If you don't like this one, wait it out. There'll probably be another. The thing with the Fantastic Four is if they're going to be in movies soon, which is the hope and prayers of me, that means we'll see more figures of them in the future. So I think that that's kind of the thing to say with any of these. If you don't really like the look of this costume set, just wait it out. We might get another one. I'd love to see the future Foundation costumes. Those are nice. So yeah, we got one more member of the main team, so let's transition over to the Thing. So the final member of the four is, of course, Ben Grimm, the Thing. Now, he is like 80% the same as the Walgreens release, with some changes here and there. And because the Walgreens release was so hard to find, I do want to do this slight comparison, which, by comparison, I mostly mean, can you blend them in with the classic? I found that most people were able to find Sue, Johnny, and Reed, but Ben was the hard one. And the thing is that, he actually does kind of blend in, because he's not drastically different. The only thing is the belt. But the belt honestly could look good with these, and these aren't standing because I'm on a tray table and doing this fast, but you can kind of see how he kind of works with them. So that's a good thing. We're just going to pull them aside. Other than that, I don't really have anything new to say with this guy, because he doesn't have any accessories. but he is still that same great thing mold. Yeah, no bicep swivels, but I haven't had that issue in a couple years now of not having bicep swivels being a problem. He does have a brand new head, which is good, because that's new. And he does have this new belt, which is a separate piece, so if you were able to split the torso, which mine's already partially split from manufacturing errors, you could get the belt off. But overall, I mean, he's just the same great, rocky, rough and tumble, ready to fight thing. And he is a different color. So some people did not like how dark color the Walgreens thing was. So, boom, here you go. You got some options. This is actually pretty great. So yeah, the Walgreens thing was really hard to find. He was definitely the most popular of the whole set. And also Walgreens, I don't think, stocked enough. You can kind of see they went with a lighter color on the more modern one. And so it's got kind of like this yellow highlight, which I thought was going to be kind of an issue because the promotional images made it really blatant, but actually kind of works out. I do really think the color gradients work here. So it's kind of like you got your darker colored thing, which, you know, that kind of works for some people, and then this is a lighter colored one. This does mean you can't swap the hands over or the heads over, because this guy came with 2 heads. But honestly, I think that one looks good. So it's kind of a pick your poison kind of thing. It's like this guy's a lot more expensive on the aftermarket, but this guy's a lot more available because he's 2 per case. I would say if you missed out on him, get him. He'll go with the classic Reed, Sue, and Johnny easily. Just no problem. So honestly, that's all I got to say, because there's really nothing else more to say, but this guy's fantastic. Just like this wave. Now, while Reed may be mediocre and Johnny is kind of a little off, and Thing and Sue look pretty dang good, how do they look together? And personally speaking, I think they look fantastic. Looking at individual pictures of these, I wasn't so sure about them. I really wasn't. But having them as the group, they look great. It's just they cohesively work as a team. I think that, you know, Reed's still the weakest, Johnny's the next weakest, but Sue's pretty solid, and Thing is just, mold's just so good. Overall, this is a great set of Fantastic Four characters. If you didn't get the 4 from Walgreens, this is the chance to get them for now. And like I said, there'll probably be other variants of them in the future. Jennifer Walters is She-Hulk. And She-Hulk finally has a brand new mold. The previous She-Hulk we got was off of a much older mold from 2013. That would be the A-Force She-Hulk release. Now this one I like the costume of, but I never felt like it had quite the same impact that a She-Hulk figure should have in the modern day. Very gangly and very weird. I hate hips that you have to turn to move forward. It's like the worst thing. But you know, I got the set because I wanted the other characters too, but I love She-Hulk. She-Hulk's like one of my favorite Marvel characters ever, and here's the thing. I haven't been as big of a fan of the comics where they've decided that She-Hulk should have like the rage issues and the control problems that are similar to Bruce Banner. Because I always thought what made She-Hulk special and unique was the fact that she was in control. She was just green and had the super strength. But they did kind of go that route with the character, and honestly, from stuff I've read of it, I've not been a super big fan of it. I did really much more like when She-Hulk was kind of the fun, fourth wall breaking lawyer that shows up in full green skin. I just like the fact that she was super confident. So the thing is that going into this figure, when they announced it, I was like, well, okay, here's the thing. I love She-Hulk, so this doesn't matter to me necessarily that I didn't necessarily like the comic run that this came from, because this figure is fantastic. She's got more of the gray skin. This is essentially a gray She-Hulk, which I guess that means I should bring in Gray Hulk, who's tall. By the way, this is your Hulk size comparison here. She's freaking huge. Remember, Gray Hulk sold for $35. She's a $20 figure, so that's impressive. But anyways, back on track. I just think they nailed the look of this figure, and it's a brand new mold. From everything I can tell, it's brand new. She's big. She's the right size. She's got this horn jeans. Like, I don't see how they could reuse many parts from this figure except for maybe the arms, which don't have any pins in the elbows or the shoulders. Look really great. Like, this is a stellar figure, and I wasn't expecting to like her as much as I thought I would. Like, I was like, okay, it's a She-Hulk, I'm gonna like it, but this figure's just great. Like, I love the musculature, the extra, just the power that emanates from the fact that, you know, she's tearing through like what normal people clothing are. It's a great like mid-transformation She-Hulk, but it's not like it's not super sexualized either. Like some of the other She-Hulks we've gotten in the past where they're mid-transformation or overly sexual, which is part of the way the character was portrayed for the longest time. But this, I think, is like done where it's like, oh, she's like hulking out, but it's done tastefully, which I think is fantastic. She's just, oh, she looks so good. This is, honestly, I was so surprised at how much I like this figure. But also the scars of the green coming through, it's just great. It glows. They glow. It's paint that glows. It's amazing. And she doesn't have too many balance issues. Like, she's relatively stable, which is pretty good. Now, the articulation on her, I think the only thing that is a little weird is that when you start to bend her elbow, it gets, like, kind of funky, but you get here. There's a single joint that moves better than most double joints in the line, so I really like that. She's ready to just, like, destroy something, which is great. She also comes with these open hands, which I think is essential for Hulk figures to have fists and open hands, because it opens up their posing potential, like, exponentially. And yeah, so she's great. I mean, there's really nothing I can say bad about her. I'd like to see some of these parts get reused, especially these arms and the scale, for like maybe a more classic She-Hulk as like a vintage card figure. Oh, that'd be perfect. Yeah, vintage card the figure. Use maybe the internal structure of some of this, like the arms. The arms are so good. Like, give us a classic She-Hulk in that. In her superhero costume would be great. And I still want to see a She-Hulk in the Fantastic Four. I know when this wave was rumored, it said She-Hulk, and I was like, is she going to have a Fantastic Four costume? So that's something I still want to see. There's plenty of She-Hulk variants that could be made, but the fact this is like Hasbro's third She-Hulk, and one of them was Red She-Hulk, which is a different character. I mean, modern day Marvel Legends, like, let's get some more She-Hulks, because she's amazing, and she's getting her own show, which I'm hoping means more figures, because this is excellent. Now, if y'all thought I gushed a little too much about She-Hulk, I'm sorry for the next 5 minutes, because this is the best Doctor Doom action figure I've ever owned. And here's the thing about me. He's my favorite Marvel character of all time. I really am a huge fan of Doctor Doom. So, when it comes down to it, I know what I'm talking about when it comes to Doom figures. The first easiest comparison is the last Doctor Doom, not just Infamous Iron Man, but the last Doctor Doom Hasbro made. This is the 2007 version. I know it was re-released in 2013, but this was the last mold we got. For reference, his articulation with this short skirt was, like, non-existent, and his knees barely moved, and his elbows barely moved. And even for the time, this was, like, really, really limited. Well, my friends, let us give reverence to Lord Doom, because, oh my gosh, this is the figure that ruined Marvel Legends for me. And what do I mean by that? Well, there's characters like the Fantastic Four and Super Skrull, She-Hulk, Winter Soldier that have me so excited because of who they are, because they're characters that mean a lot to me or are some of my favorites. Doctor Doom makes every Marvel Legend that's of a character I don't care as much about look like it's pathetic. Because the thing with Marvel Legends is they work off the fact that they put out like 150 figures a year, and they can part swap. Look at Doom with his unique, detailed molding with the clasps and the rivets and the shiny metallicness of him. It's so incredible because Marvel Legends never really does this anymore. And I'm so happy they did for Doom, because I feel like Doom is worth it. He is one of the most iconic villains in Marvel. He is a villain that technically should have never made it out of the Silver Age because of his goofiness, but his own intimidating look has made him transcend over time and space. And this cape looks like fabric. Like, the pictures came out and I was like, that cape's not plastic. It looks real. It feels real. This chain is thin, so be careful. But this is the Doom we've waited for. Remember how in the other one it had a shorter skirt? I know some people did say they don't like the longer tunic. It's not a skirt, I'm sorry, Doom. But the tunic skirt piece, people said, oh, well, we kind of wanted a shorter one. Well, here's the thing. That other Doom can't move his legs like this, and he's got a shorter tunic. And in fact, it's fully molded underneath for armor. They really went all out on this. And so his legs move far out. This one not as much because of the gun holster. The thighs swivel. He's got double jointed knees. He's got ankles that pivot forward and back and left and right. He's got a torso ball joint that moves. He's got a head ball joint that moves. He's got a cape that can unpeg out of the back. He's got thrusters underneath that have holes for Iron Man effect pieces. He's got shoulders that move, biceps, double jointed elbows, wrists that pivot and pose. He is everything we could want from a Doctor Doom. Honestly, like, there's really not much to complain about. And the thing is, too, is gun, it holsters. It's a real holster. The gun fits inside his hand. Nice and neat. So he's got that going on for him. Yeah, like, they even molded in an embroidered D on the holster. Like, just, this is incredible. This is a $20 figure that I feel like I didn't pay enough for. That's what he feels like. He also even, because Hasbro said that's not enough, here's a classic head. Classic looking Doom right there. And then he comes with 2 fists on top of that. What more could you want from a Doom besides this? Honestly, like, it's like a good mix of classic and modern. It's a good overall look. He's just very, very impressive. And apparently there's also more variants coming of him, and that's fine with me because I will buy them all. By the way, I wasn't kidding with that I want to buy all the Doom statement because, you know, honestly, like, out of all these Doctor Dooms that I've owned over the years, this guy right here just nails it. All the others have some kind of articulation limitation or accessory issue, or the overall look is kind of weird or proportions are off. This guy does not have any of those issues. Hasbro nailed it. I don't even know how they could make it any better. Just make it in different colors, I guess. Because, yeah, this just... oh, you nailed it, Hasbro. You really did. So, picking up all 6 of those figures will net you 1 free Super Skrull, even though it's part of the price and it's included in all that factoring. But yeah, here's the Super Skrull. This is a figure that a lot of people have asked for and was actually in Walgreens computer systems for years. Which, I don't know what happened with that, but Hasbro did play a little fun little joke. They're like, yeah, you know, this is something that you guys may have heard about for a long time, and it's finally happening. It's possible they couldn't figure it out in a $20 price point, but as a Build-A-Figure, it works. Now, he is using the Venom body mold, which means he is a little bit bigger than the normal figure, but not super large, which is fine, because I think scaling works. Here, he kind of looks like a normal Skrull in a lot of ways. He doesn't really look necessarily super, but, yeah, look at that. Nice little Skrull look. Now, of course, being a Build-A-Figure, he has removable parts, but there actually is a separate head. So you got this one here. It's kind of standard look. Then you got this one. He's like, oh, I got those powers in me. Then, of course, you got the arms, but the arms can swap out. Which, by the way, they put 2 right arms in one figure and 2 left arms in another, so you can't just, like, skip a figure. So you've got the powers of the Thing and the Human Torch on one side. And then here on the other side, if I can get the arms are kind of tight. Okay, don't break it on camera. All right. Then the other side, we got the powers of Mr. Fantastic and the Invisible Woman. So, I actually really like this, because it's got this nice stretchy arm, but it's still posable. And it's clear, and then this has got the fire and the fist. And look at that. There's a Super Skrull. Like, I don't know what else to say besides that there is a Super Skrull. Kind of more modern, kind of classic mix at the same time. I think this definitely works with fighting the modern Fantastic Four, even though I don't think they fought him at all in the comics. I've been keeping up. I just don't remember them fighting Super Skrull. So, you know, the thing is that, like, this is a great Build-A-Figure because pretty much every Fantastic Four collector fan pretty much wants this guy. So, it kind of goes with that. Still wanting to see more Fantastic Four villains like Trapster, or Wizard, or Mole Man again. The last Mole Man was alright, but it is nice to finally get another villain in the line that isn't just Doom. And it's nice that Doom, SheHulk, the Fantastic Four and Super Skrull are all in one wave because I had no problems with this wave. The biggest holdup I had trying to finish this was the modern Fantastic Four, just because they were different. But having them in hand actually worked out, and I really enjoy them. But it was totally worth it for this guy, for me. For everyone, it may be a different story, but that's the thing with Build-A-Figures. You got to take them at they're included in the price. They're not just a free thing. Unless, you know, there's sometimes I've had waves like Absorbing Man, where I wanted every figure in the wave. I just didn't want Absorbing Man as much, and then it was like, oh hey, I got Absorbing Man. But I think when it comes to Build-A-Figures, this year I just don't have it in me to complete most of them, because there's just a lot of figures I don't really want, and the Build-A-Figures aren't as enticing. So this is actually the only Build-A-Figure I'm planning to build until Strong Guy, who's scheduled for fall. So bring on a Strong Guy as late as you can, because I actually am enjoying this little break. But it was nice to finish this guy. I haven't put together a Build-A-Figure in a little while, so this felt good. But that comes to the end of the wave. So in conclusion, this is the first wave of Marvel Legends in 2020, and it's one of my favorite waves of the whole line. Honestly, this comes from a deep love for the Fantastic Four, but I think this wave is so solid thematically. You've got the Fantastic Four, their greatest enemy, one of their most consistent allies, and a villain we haven't gotten before. That is a nice lineup, and I'm hoping next year we'll get another Fantastic Four wave, and they can be annual, kind of like X-Men, because I would love to see Mole Man again. I would love to see maybe a different version of the Fantastic Four. I would love to see, you know, Wizard, Trapster. The Build-A-Figure next time could be Dragon Man, and that would make so many Toy Biz collectors happy that missed out on that figure, because that was one of the hardest, rarest figures of the Toy Biz Marvel Legends line. And having a chance at that again would be fantastic. Heck, throw in Annihilus. Annihilus is a great Fantastic Four villain. It's like everything is on brand here, and I think that's the kind of consistent thing. With the newest Spider-Man wave, the Demo Goblin, there's some kind of like thrown in choices like Shang-Chi, where I'm like, I get that there's a movie coming out, but it's kind of doesn't feel like he fits. Whereas everybody fits with the Fantastic Four theme here. And also, if these guys on the right or the left, the Fantastic Four, if they had to take, you know, the previous molds, only add a couple new parts here and there, so that Doom could be all new, She-Hulk could be all new, and Super Skrull could have that many new pieces, so be it. I think the balance actually works out for me this time. Again, could be just because I love the Fantastic Four, but it is what it is. So keep an eye out for these online. A lot of online retailers have been stocking them. Doom is 2 per case, same with Thing. Doom is harder to get because there is a lot higher demand for him, but I'm hoping Hasbro will ship him into solid 8-pack wave cases if he becomes super hard to find. But he's absolutely worth it. I honestly think the whole wave's worth it. If you want to build Super Skrull, you're not going to get horrible figures to do it. I think the weakest one is Reed, and even then he's better than like half the figures of the Hulkbuster wave. So I think we're good there. Sue's a little drunk, but okay, Reed's gone. She turned him invisible. That does it for this video. I haven't done a normal Marvel Legends review in a while. I've only done rundowns the last few years, but if you didn't see 2019's rundown, check it out. I might have some fun. A lot of people right now have a lot of time off to watch YouTube videos, so I've got some long ones out there. If you enjoyed this video, please hit like, comment down below, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, all the usual stuff. I appreciate all of your support out there, and I'm going to try to keep putting out videos more regularly, maybe every couple days have a new video, just to keep some fun content out there on YouTube. And toys are fun. Also check out my graphic artist, Darkclaw, on Twitter at Darkclaw643. Check out Hero Club at hero-club.com for any and all pop culture news that we cover. And check us out on Patreon if you want to help support the channel. But other than that, stay safe, stay healthy, live your best life that you can with everything you have available to you. And until next time, this is Soundout saying goodbye.